Right then, people, we're back inside the building. How are we doing this morning? Just gone 4 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. It's Breakfast with Kovu. It's the interview hour, and we're joined by Emma this morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi, Kovu. Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been looking forward to this one for a hot minute. Obviously, we had a bit of a catch-up yesterday, just kind of running through what we kind of be talking to, and what we'd be talking through, sorry. And obviously, found out then that you actually spent a fair bit of time in Brighton when you were younger.
Yeah, no, definitely. I went to Sussex University from the end of 2005 to 2008, and yeah, it was a really, I look back on it as like probably one of the happiest times of my life, really, being down there. So it's nice to be spiritually back in my old stomping ground.
Amazing, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously Brighton as a city, a lot of people kind of come and go, but there's a motto down here in Brighton, which is essentially once you've come here once, you'll always come back again. So that's hopefully something we can see in the future with that. So what we're going to kind of do with this first interview section is for yourself kind of break down a bit of background, obviously work out the kind of label background as well. So the first question I'm going to kind of ask is, what was the thing that really pushed you into music as a kind of professional kind of role?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think there was this actually when I was in Brighton, and it was, 2000 so I was at university. I was studying media practice and theory. So there was, and I went into that not really knowing what I was going to do with my life. Like I wanted to be making documentaries originally, I think from when I was in sixth form. But then when I got into the course and into the sound editing and stuff, I became really interested in like sound design, and it was quite unexpected, really, and the idea of kind of like creating a world with sound. And at the same time, dubstep was kind of taken off, and I hadn't really heard been engaged with any kind of UK scene before, because in my teenage years I was into a lot of American rap, basically.
Okay.
And I was like listening to Mobb Deep, through to like 50 Cent and G Unit, all that kind of era. So it was my first time, like when I was going out, I was actually meeting people that were making the beats that I was hearing in the club, which had kind of never happened before.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, I really like this tune. Who made that? And then someone would be like pointing at some kind of guy standing in the corner with like a baseball cap on. I'd be like, wow. So then I thought, I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to hear my tunes out. And then I guess someone put Fruity Loops on my laptop, and I started just kind of experimenting, and because I got very kind of mates with Unlikely that ran Dub Pressure, and Letty, who did all the visuals, they put a couple of tunes out of mine in 2012. So it was a little bit later that I kind of, I suppose, built up the confidence to start releasing stuff. And then I've always had like a day job for the last 10 years. You kind of earn pockets here and there, but as anyone knows, it's a bit of a struggle. So yeah, I've been with the label. That came when I realized that, essentially if you're an artist, you've got to build something for yourself, and you've got to build something for your community, and you can't just rely on other people to kind of open a door for you. And then I just thought that's my own avenue that I can kind of really throw myself into. And I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Okay, cool. I mean, so kind of with that, then it's a very interesting journey, kind of going essentially from being in an environment where you're actually around the producers who are like essentially making the tunes that are on the system, to then kind of taking it upon yourself to almost, as you say, build a lane with which you can kind of drive things forward. How did you find the setting up of the label to begin with?
Well, yeah, it was it was a little bit. To be honest, it was. I was speaking to Cargo Distribution just about kind of other matters, and then they kind of just suggested, like, why don't you set up your own label? And I was like, okay, well, you're never going to get like. It was kind of like the push that I needed, really, because I'd thought about it for quite a long time, but so I didn't really know much about it. Other than I wanted to create like a name, like Pastel Prism is like a bit 80s. It kind of gives a bit of an aesthetic, and it would help unite all the kind of sounds I'm interested in for the label. And since there, I've actually moved distributors to Alpha Pup in LA, which is run by Daddy Kev. And it's a smaller boutique distributor that, it's got a foothold over there as well. But they've been very, very helpful in just kind of consulting me on what I should be doing and things like that. And I've also, my day job, I've worked in PR for technology. So there's a few transferable skills there in terms of thinking about the marketing side and the promotion.
Definitely,
which
man.
is, I think, helped as well. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to kind of hear you kind of break down the kind of process behind it, especially obviously talking about now having an overseas kind of distributor. Do you find the kind of sounds that Pastel Prism are putting out get that kind of US recognition? Because that's something that's often talked about with kind of UK dance music specifically, about how not necessarily that it's ahead of the US stuff, but it does seem to be that a lot of the time America tends to follow suit with what happens with the UK.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's a certain amount of cachet if you're from, the UK and you've got a bit of a UK sound that is definitely a differentiator for when, you're working or looking to do things in the US. But also I think that they're a little bit more, from what I gather, they're more interested in spaces between genres as well, and a bit more, it seems like they're a bit generally more receptive of, treading between lines and things like that. Then I know that a lot of the big distributors here, there's they do a very good job and everything like that. But if you're, a lot of it is very genre driven,
of course.
And that's brilliant. And it's kind of not really what I do, I suppose. So I think there's definitely advantages, and it's just a sunny LA disposition as well as a good influence, because they're very very positive.
Of course. Yeah. I think the whole thing of this is quite interesting, breaking it down. And obviously with the label where it's at now, you have been in a position to release with a lot of kind of influential names. One of the most recent ones being obviously Dexplicit, and we had Dexplicit on this show actually to kind of look around promoting the release. How did you find that whole process?
It was an absolute joy. Dex and I met because he volunteered his time for free to help out in our voluntary work. He's a founding member of the Producer Girls workshops, and we ran one in Brighton actually. Me, Dex, Iconica, and P-Jam. But we've bonded, about music and everything, and he's like a mentor, and he's he's very encouraging to me as well. And we spoke about, we've both got similar influences with video games and things like that. So I was very keen to have Dex on the label, because he could just, it was just an avenue one of its avenues is from my friends to be able to just think completely freely.
Of course.
It's art, Dex led on the artwork with, which was designed by Elena Gemenuik, who did that amazing graphic illustration of Dex and for Digital Monk. And yeah, it's kept us both entertained during lockdown, I think.
Definitely, man. Kind of that Dexplicit EP obviously did a lot. It got a lot of support in a lot of different places. And when you kind of look through the kind of discography that's now being assembled by Pastel Prism, it must be quite cool to look back and kind of go, hang on, every single time we're kind of leveling up here.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you, Kovi, for your support on this, and that was really much appreciated.
No worries at all. I was happy to be there. I was very happy to be involved.
Amazing. No, thank you. And yeah, I know it does feel, obviously like anything in life, you learn as you go and you learn on the job, and around it does feel like it keeps momentum going when you can see that each release is making a little bit more of an impact, and there's a bit more awareness and bringing in a new audience, and it's kind of good motivation to keep going, really, and because it is a labour of love, at the end of the day.
Definitely, man. No, I 100% agree, and I can understand that kind of that thing of it being a labour of love. You want it to work, even though it's not the full-time thing. You want it to be as good as possible, more than anything else. A lot of time, because I find people want to make sure they're representing the music that's coming out on their labels as well as they possibly can. And I definitely think with this Dexplicit EP, this was one of the EPs that I've seen in recent times that really has kind of cut through, obviously the kind of mesh of releases we seem to see day to day now. So what we're going to do is we are going to jump into one track off this EP, and it goes by the name of Millennial Rhapsody. We didn't actually play this one when Dex was on the show, so talk me through this one. Why is this one in today's listing?
Yeah, so I think this is the third track I think on the EP, and it for me it's it does remind me of like a video game level where you're kind of near the end, or it might even be the final level, and it just, and you're doing well in the game. So I like it. Kind of makes me feel kind of very positive listening to it, and and now it's kind of come to remind me of good times.
Amazing,
as well, of the whole thing. Yeah.
I love to hear that. I love to hear it. Right then, we just come up to 9:15 here on Trickstar Radio. Emma is on the line, and we're going to get into this one from Dexplicit now. Goes by the name of Millennial Rhapsody. This one is out now, so make sure you go and grab it. It's Breakfast with Kovu.